So I'd like to ask DPM Teo if you think, and it's not just my question, it's a question of many others. Do you think that our two-child policy really is a wrong policy? That in fact it has contributed quite significantly to the TFR challenges that we now have today, right? And we'll start with that question, and then I'll take questions from the floor.
The mics were hiding behind here. Well, that's a question I've been asked a number of times or so. But if you look back, we were really facing a big population boom, post-war baby boom. And the worry that we had at that time is, will there be enough education, housing, healthcare for Singaporeans? And we don't really want to bring Singaporeans and young Singaporeans through a life of difficulty and misery. And really what we wanted to do was to make sure that we have children in Singapore who can grow up well. And I think that was the motivation for the two-child policy. But actually, by the middle 80s, the problems with this had already become obvious, as you know from the chart. Maybe you can try and see whether you can put the chart up. By the middle 80s, this problem had become obvious already. And actually, in 1987, as I said just now, we had this 3 or more policy. Thank you. So by 1987, we had this 3 or more policy. It had been coming down. So by 1987, we had this 3 or more policy. And, it would be nice to think that, because we had this 3 or more policy in 1988, the birth rates shot up. But I don't think that's got anything to do with it. I think it's got to do with the dragon year more than anything else, and the tiger year before that. But also because I think this period there was a bit of a recession, and that period through the 80s was a very good economic growth. So I think that the Stop at 2 policy was probably necessary because it provided this generation of Singaporeans the opportunity to have good education, healthcare, and so on. But the trends throughout East Asia were very strong. And you can see that in Taiwan, Hong Kong, Japan, Korea, all of them face the same downtrend. And today, all of them are in the same sort of 1.2, 1.0, 1.1, 1.3 kind of total fertility rate. I think the social trends were just too strong for us, and it was very difficult for us to try and reverse them. So although we tried, and you can see these numbers there, although we tried, we seem to have made some improvement in the late 80s and 90s, but then from about 98 onwards, we fell backwards again. And if I go back to the previous chart, from 98 onwards, we fell backwards again. And then in 2001, we decided we better redouble our efforts. So we made a big effort there. And we 2001, 2008, we've tried. But so far, we haven't succeeded yet to reverse that. We hope that with a concerted effort, we will be able to bring our birth rates back up.
Just now Mr. Teo was saying there, but several thousands Singaporean married to non-citizens. So actually I want to know, I've been reading this handout, I want to know the foreigners that have been employed in Singapore. Who are they? If you need to bring in foreigners, fine, but who are they? Are they under non-traditional source? I understand only like those under, let's say, under the Commonwealth are considered as traditional source, and the rest, like, what about the Chinese? Sorry to say this, from China. I've been looking at this, but I couldn't find the figures to state, how many Filipinos or how many Chinese, how many Indians are being employed here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, on spouses coming to Singapore, and the basic considerations are family unit, and also whether the family will be able to sustain itself economically and be able to support itself. That's a very important consideration. We also have considerations and restrictions on work permit holders, for example. Work permit holders are not allowed to get married unless they have permission from MOM. And that's been a long time condition for work permit holders in Singapore. So those are some of the considerations and the concerns. And I think if Hasna has some specific issues with any specific issues and specific persons in mind, I welcome her to come and let me know at the end of the discussion, and we'll see what the specific issue is. But those are the general principles. We want to make sure that when a family is formed, that they're able to support themselves, and that if they have children, the children can be born into a home which is able to sustain and support them.
Okay, I have two questions here. The first question got to do with single mothers. Okay, so when is the government going to extend equal benefit to single mothers? Because this is a very big group of Singaporeans who are having children. So it's time that we address this issue honestly, rather than pretending that they don't exist. Okay. Number two is regarding second parent adoption. Second parent adoption. Okay, basically it means that, let's say a lesbian mother have a baby with artificial insemination and allowing her partner to adopt the child as a legal parent. So basically family structure in Singapore are changing, so policy needs to change as well. So maybe it's time that government address this issue.
The plight of some of the single mothers that we see touches all of us when we do house visits, and I think all of us MPs who have met several single mothers who struggle with motherhood and also being single, and I think that brings along additional emotional and social needs. So I think we do help. We do make exceptions. So for example, when it comes to childcare subsidy now we will extend to help single mothers. But I think we do still draw a line, because I think the society right now still majority thinks that the traditional family structure intact is probably still a preferred way of bringing up children. And I think that through my discussions with many Singaporeans, young and old, many of them still view this traditional path of marrying someone of a different gender and then having children as probably a preferred phases in life. I did one dialogue sessions with MediaCorp, and I asked this, should we just do away? Because in some of these Scandinavian countries, for example, single mothers actually get the same kind of benefits and social support from the country. So I asked this question, should we just do something that's radical in order to boost population, that we should just remove this step of having to get married and just jump straight into parenthood? Majority of the respondents actually did not think that was acceptable at this point in time. So I think it's important for government policies to signal where the society values lie at this moment. We don't intend to run ahead of the majority of the people in the society, but will we change the policies? Yes, we review our policies from time to time, and I'm sure that societal values and the changes thereof will probably be figured and featured in our policies.
With the influx of male foreign talent coming, will they compete with local single males on finding a life partner, hence reducing the ability of local population to go by itself? I think we shouldn't laugh on this. Okay? It's a serious issue.
Address David's concern about competition from foreign males. I would say that actually it is not only the privilege of the woman that has foreign spouses, the men have foreign spouses too. So equally, Singaporean women is facing competition from foreigners. The fact of the matter is that actually the government cannot regulate love. We can't regulate who you should love and who you should marry. Oh. But we do try as much as possible from policy's point of view, signal what a city-state like us can sustain. So if you talked about regulating work pass, earlier on a lady has a very passionate comment about restrictions on foreign spouses. I think as a country with very limited resources and a very huge population of transient workers, we do try to signal. But really, ultimately, we cannot prevent competition from for love, actually.
But anyway, I want to focus today on values. I'm just going to read this off because I prepared this in advance. Okay. Now, following up on the two-child policy, I think you'd be accurate to say that abortion was permitted and even encouraged as one of our population control measures. In my younger years, I was told that at one time, KK Hospital conducted the highest number of abortions in the world. While the TFR trend we saw just now, among most countries in Asia, came down, and I believe these were changes in values due to government policies, as what Dr. Amy mentioned just now. I believe those of Philippines didn't come down. Correct me if I'm wrong. With that backdrop, I would like to ask, one, what are the current abortion numbers among the ladies of various age groups, the bands that we saw just now? Two, how prevalent is the abortion mentality among our mothers, married or not, and among the fathers, as a convenient option to a generally non-life-threatening situation? Three, can we, as a practical means of buttressing our diminishing population, have laws restricting the termination of preborn babies be passed to permit abortions to only life-threatening situations? But the most important side effect of these laws will be to emphasize and to educate our young men and women who may have forgotten to change their values and attitudes to society so that they can have a profound reverence for human life and society at large, not only from its conception, but through its national conclusion. At the very least, can we grow our population through adoption instead? Thank you.
All right.
The issue of abortion, I think, is something which we are not going to be able to settle tonight. Because I think, even as Edward, I think, was it? Edmund was speaking, I could see some people agreeing and some people shaking their heads and disagreeing. And it's not something, it's a matter of very deep personal values, which I respect, part of Edmund. But I think we're not be able to settle this tonight. And it is something which today we give as a choice, allow as a choice to women. But I don't have the precise statistics today, but I would say that I'm reasonably confident that the numbers are not growing in any sort of dramatic way. In fact, probably in the other direction, if anything. Philippines is a very interesting example. Now, Philippines population, I don't have the TFR numbers, probably has been growing faster than in many other countries. But again, you see, this is one of the issues that we have to think about. Philippines today is an exporter of labor. If you go to many countries in the world, you will find Filipinos working there. And one of the issues is that they probably have had a very fast population growth. The economy has not been able to keep up and provide the kinds of jobs that Filipinos need. I'm not sure that the education system has been able to keep up with providing Filipinos, new generations of Filipinos, with the kind of education that they need. And hence you do have a situation where many of them are working abroad. No doubt they are contributing back to the home country with remittances home. But you can see that these are some of the dilemmas which governments face. And supposing we had not been able to control our population in the 1960s, might we have been like that too? It's not impossible. If we had not been able to educate Singaporeans well, if we had not been able to generate growth in Singapore, Singaporeans may well have been working abroad. Not for the reasons that Gary was talking about, but because they are forced to do so, because they can't make a living at all, make ends meet at all in the country if they stay there.